Welcome to Tales of Ted DeGrazia, a Big Blend radio podcast covering the art, life, and career of Southwest artist Ted DeGrazia, as well as the current events and exhibits happening at DeGrazia Gallery in the Sun. It's a 10-acre National Historic Landmark located in Tucson, Arizona. Welcome, everybody. We've got Lance here, the Tucson dude from DeGrazia Gallery in the Sun in Tucson, Arizona. It is the monsoon season of the desert. Welcome back, Lance. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Doing good. We're in Tucson, and we're supposed to be at the gallery, but, our schedule and car drama twirled it around, but at least we're in the desert, and I think it's a good monsoon season, don't you?
Yeah, it's been a little hit and miss, but we've had some pretty good rain so far. It's hotter than hell, I'll say that.
Yeah, but that's why people need to go to the gallery, get some air conditioning, take some art in,
Right. Right.
I think that today we're going to talk about Cabeza de Vaca, and this is a permanent collection at the DeGrazia Gallery in the Sun. And we want to talk a little bit about him, and then also Ted DeGrazia, he has an affinity for certain people of the Southwest, and Cabeza de Vaca is definitely one of them. But before we get to that, Lance, I want to touch on some of the newer exhibits, because you have rotating exhibits throughout the year, and what's on display right now. One of them I don't think we've talked much about is the DeGrazia's bus exhibit. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, sure. So this is the exhibit is titled the Nogales Bus, and the little town of Nogales down in Mexico, right on the border. There's a bus that comes to Tucson every day and has for many, many years, and it just hauls people from Nogales to Tucson. And that was kind of a subject that DeGrazia liked. He probably rode the bus a few times. And the exhibit just consists of some oil paintings of the bus, some watercolors of the bus, and they're all a little bit different. I mean, it's the same group of people and the same guy hanging off the back of the bus, but they all look a little different. And then there's a series of about, I would say, 20 or 25 silk screens that are hand embellished that he painted over with a brush, and they're really cool. They're really nice pieces.
That's cool.
So that's just a kind of a temporary display. That'll be up for another, I believe, till September.
Yeah, also on display until September is the Master's Thesis paintings, Master of Arts Thesis paintings. Right. And I know we did a whole show on that, everyone, but this is really cool because it's from DeGrazia's actual 1945 University of Arizona Master of Arts thesis called Art and Its Relation to Music and Music Education. This has got to be so cool for everyone to experience that about music and the connection with music and art.
Well, yeah, and when you look at it, it's nothing that you would imagine DeGrazia would do. It just kind of shows off how diverse his work is. It's really, I mean, some of it's quite abstract, and it's not something you would normally equate to DeGrazia's work.
Did he paint that?
So it is very cool.
Yeah, because he was painting that in the 40s and that was, while that's his thesis while he was in college, and being a landscape artist too while he was doing it. That's interesting too.
Yeah. No, he worked outside there too, building walls and planting trees at the University of Arizona.
The other one that is still, I'm seeing so much popularity in this is DeGrazia's textile designs for fuller fabrics. So when you think about, he went from 1945 in his Master of Arts thesis, then we, zoom ahead to 1952 through 56. This is when he was doing like Southwestern kind of novelty prints, as you guys you're talking about, for fuller fabrics in New York. And I mean, this is like, are you seeing that? I know we talked about this last time, but how is it going at the gallery itself with people coming in? Are they kind of blown away at the fabric design because like I said
Oh
before, this is
yeah,
like a resurgence. Yeah, it's coming back around.
it's a really really beautiful exhibit. Jim Jenkins, who is our collection manager, really did a just a beautiful job displaying this stuff. And we have a few skirts on display, and he framed a lot of the swatches that DeGrazia painted, and it's just a beautiful display. And Fuller Fabrics, when they did all this, they literally sold hundreds of thousands of square yards of this stuff. So it was a big part of what he did that most people really don't realize. He had his fingers in everything.
Yeah, again, Renaissance man didn't, the sky's the limit on what materials, literally, he would use to create, whether it's on canvas, whether he was doing ceramics, or a tortilla, even, right?
Right.
He'll create on whatever he wants to create on. Moving forward, and that exhibit, everyone, is up through January 2025. So you got time on that. But when it comes to DeGrazia's Nogales bus and the master thesis paintings, you're going to want to get to the gallery before September 4th of this year. So, and then we're going to talk next month about the new exhibits coming in. So stay tuned for that. So today, like I was saying, I wanted to talk about Cabeza de Vaca, that collection, which is one of the permanent collections, right? So,
correct.
This is a story. As Nancy and I travel, we're always finding these connections back to DeGrazia. We get emails just like you all the time going, hey, I have an original of DeGrazia. I'm like, well, you better call Lance and see if that's true. Good luck with that. But we've seen his art in national park units, like even just around the corner in Casa Grande at the ruins there. He's got, a picture. I don't know if it's a print or original in the actual visitor center. But he's connected in ways, even with the stories of like Padre Kino. Notice I did not say Father Font. Have I done well on that yet, Lance?
Good job.
I did it.
Good job.
I was talking about, you guys, actually, we just did a show about art across America, and I ended up representing Tucson. And I was talking about, DeGrazia, and I had in big notes in front of me, do not say Father Font. It is Padre Kino. I had big notes. So I've like taught myself, because I always get the two fathers mixed up, but that can happen. They're wearing robes. It gets hard to differentiate. Right. But DeGrazia seems to have these affinity for these, I would say larger than life characters of the Southwest that are a part of our history. And I'm sure like stories abound by them, because they explored. Padre Kino and Father Font both were explorers of the Southwest, met with the Native American peoples, the Mexican peoples. So they had these relationships up, down, and all around. And Cabeza de Vaca, this, exploration, he's a Spanish explorer. I mean, what he went through was incredible. So before we get into his story, I wanted to ask, what defines what becomes a permanent exhibit versus a rotating exhibit in the gallery? I mean, is this something that, so big.
When DeGrazia was alive, he didn't rotate anything. They were all permanent. And then after he passed away, there's so much art and so much stuff that people hadn't seen that I took the opportunity to make some rotating galleries. And what constitutes a permanent gallery is what he set up, and we've just left alone. The permanent galleries are Cabeza de Vaca, the Papago Indian Legends. There's a retrospective room, the Yaqui Easter, and the bullfight. Those are all the permanent exhibits.
And that's what he wanted.
And we don't take them down. We don't. He put them up, and we respect that, and we leave it. That's the way he wanted it.
Okay, well, I think that's important. That for him, like that's what he wanted. So you got to do it. So obviously you did. Right. Yeah, yeah. So Cabeza de Vaca, um, so he was known as the very first travel writer of Texas. Texans, revere him because not only did he go through literal hell, right? He set sail
Yeah.
he had 600 conquistadors from Spain. This was back in 1527. Set sail for the Americas, to conquer the Native Americans, right? To convert them to
Actually, they
Christianity,
came
right?
looking for the seven cities of gold.
That's
They were
exactly
looking for
all of
gold.
it. Both. Yeah, right. I think it was, I don't, it just, we're going to go and conquer. England and Spain at that time were at war. I mean, it's just kind of a crazy thing of what was going on around the world. But here he comes, 600 Spanish conquistadors, and they got, didn't they go to Florida first? Am I right with that? I think they went
Yeah,
to,
they first of all, the guy's name, Cabeza de Vaca, is a nickname. It means head of the cow in Spanish. His real name was Panfilo de Narvaez,
dang.
and they came to the New World looking for gold. They landed in Florida. They started walking, tromping through the swamp, and before it wasn't too long before everybody started getting sick. They were getting mosquito bitten. People were getting malaria. So they loaded back up on their ships and they headed out, and they ended up in Galveston Bay across from Texas. So they get off the ships and they start marching and they start walking. Now, you mentioned this, these were the first Europeans in Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona. Make a long story short, by the time they got to Arizona, there was only 4 men left. They were all dead.
Wow.
So that was the beginning of the end.
Yeah, no kidding.
They wandered the desert for 9 years. They lost their clothes. They would get captured by tribes that were pretty bad to them. They would run into tribes that were actually nice to them, and so they ran the whole gamut of the way they were treated. Eventually, the Spanish found them and rescued them. And 3 of the 4 men went back to Spain, and one of the men, black man named Esteban, stayed in the New World, and he married a native woman and lived happily ever after, I assume.
Wow. Okay, so this is, but they only a few men after 600 of them. I mean, that's quite a statistic. That's
Yeah,
brutal.
yeah. It was just a terrible, brutal trip, and 99% of them died.
So,
Yeah.
So with DeGrazia's fascination, was it for him about the actual exploration, do you think, or was it like here they're coming
No,
to Arizona? Yeah, go ahead.
DeGrazia loved history. He was a history buff, and this was such an interesting journey that and there was big interaction between Europeans and native Indians. So it was just very interesting to him, and he painted a huge collection. Gosh, I mean, he did oils, he did pen and ink drawings, midnight sketches. He did enamels on copper.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Of Cabeza de Vaca. So yeah, I mean, he really dug in and used all kinds of different medium to document this story, and he wrote a book on it too. There's a book that covers this story.
Isn't that also part of when you talk about the books, he did the same thing with Padre Kino. Oh, see, I almost said Father Frank again.
He did books. He did books for all of his permanent collections.
Okay.
He did a book for Cabeza de Vaca. He did a book for the Papago Indian Legends. He did a book for the Yaqui Easter. He did a book for the bullfight. You know, on and on and on. He probably did 25 books.
Wow. I'm glad he did. And because as we traveled, we need to still go to the Houston Botanical Gardens. They have a bust of Cabeza de Vaca. And then we went to Galveston, and it was hell to try and find this plaque. Apparently there was supposed to be like a statue plaque. And when we went there, and I'd done so much research on him, and I was like, I could get like, oh, I see why DeGrazia loves this guy, like and it just, I mean, what they went through and the documentation. I mean, if he's, Texas's very first travel writer, and you read all these things about him, and then you get to Galveston, and I'm sorry, Galveston, but it's just like what we went through to get there was so disappointing. It's like, here's this little plaque in the grass, just a little, that's it. And I'm going, do you know what they went through by the time they got off of like a broken down boat in Galveston, and that's all you give him? Like, I'm sorry, I didn't do this show to rant about it, but I was so, everybody else has all these statues and actual monument, like actual pillars, and he's just on the ground. I think DeGrazia, I wonder if DeGrazia kind of felt even at that time if he didn't get the amount of recognition that he deserves, you know?
Cabeza de Vaca, you mean?
Yeah.
I can't
I
speculate
don't
on what
I
DeGrazia
don't
was
know
thinking.
either.
I have no idea.
But I mean, I don't know how
But he
much I
did
would have known.
document it, and he did a really amazing job about it. So
Yeah.
if Cabeza de Vaca didn't get his due back then he certainly did from DeGrazia.
Well, that was my point. Is like I didn't grow up here or in Tucson. I didn't know. And if it wasn't for going to the gallery, I would never have known about this story. This is where I heard about him. That's where I started
Right,
going,
right.
oh, look at this story and this tale and the paintings that he did, where you see them all in the desert. There's that one. I'm like, oh my gosh, what these people went through. I mean, you're dealing with cactus, and the desert is not easy to live in, right? And I
No,
think
everything
that's,
pokes you and everything wants to stick you, and especially when you lose your clothes.
yeah, right. But I think that might have also been something where DeGrazia realized what these people went through. And so
Right.
I feel like he did justice to this exploration. We have Lewis and Clark and that huge expedition. And I mean, maybe he was coming for the cities of gold, like, he was, but it doesn't mean it wasn't like this notable event in history of what, like, the bravery, the keep going for survival, just basic need survival, what these people went through. 600 people, in the middle of nowhere. I mean, we didn't have air conditioning, we didn't have the clothes for it, we didn't have what we have today. I mean, this is, God.
Yeah, and they wore metal hats.
Oh my God. Right? And so, like, that's why I say what
Had
DeGrazia
to be
did.
hot.
Yeah, I just expected like more about him. And online you can read things, but and there's books. But I think what DeGrazia did for him, I mean, how many people that go through the gallery every day get to see this story that may be like me and had no clue, you know? Maybe, I didn't get
Right,
that in my history book in Africa, right? So sorry.
right,
But that's
right.
that's the point. Is like, these stories that he has put out there for people to grasp and learn about. Whether, and his writing is, I love his writing. I really think he would have made like a brilliant screenwriter, for movies, the way he writes.
He was just a very educated, very smart man, and the way he presented himself to the public, I mean, he looked like a kind of a scruffy cowboy, but that was only a small part of his persona. He was a very, very brilliant man and driven to create and to educate people. So yeah, the guy was very smart.
Yeah, exactly. And so when you,
I
I
mean,
mean, 'cause
he built something out of he built this huge thing out of nothing
exactly,
from the ground up
with his friends, you know?
with his
And
friends, right?
well, the other thing, because he was so connected to the Mexican people and the various tribes, the Native American tribes in, the area, the Tohono the Yaqui, and Papago, right? That
Yep.
he understood what they went through and he communicated, they were friends. So he became like just real connected with the people. But that's what I, learned also about Cabeza de Vaca, that it's like, at one point, they're going for the seven cities of gold, but it was also about conquering the Native Americans, making them be part of what they're doing. Because that
It was
was
always about that.
yeah, it's always there. However, the Indians that and some of them went into slavery at the Native Americans, so that didn't go well. But then at the same times, some of them actually helped them. So it was like they went through the extremes. That's like, when you watch Lewis and Clark, what they went through. Watch it. There's a great documentary. And if you read about it, go on the trail. I mean, it's a long trail and we've done a lot of it. But honestly, these adventures of explorers having to deal with tribes when nobody understands each other's language. The first thing is let's kill each other, because I don't know who you are. The same kind of thing happened with Cabeza de Vaca going out there. Some, thought they had powers of healing because they came from somewhere out of nowhere. And then others said, no, I don't trust you. You're going to be a slave for a day or so or more. So that was, I mean, because there's 600 conquistadors. And yet you said those metal helmets, here they come, you know? So, yeah, they said that some of them
Yeah, well,
had great
I kind
powers
of
of
said that
healing.
in jest, but it is true. You
Yeah,
know,
they had those
if
like
it's
little
115 out and you're wearing a metal helmet, that just seems
with a broom on the
a
top.
little much,
Yeah, that little broomy
right?
thing at the or a feather. But I mean, they said that the Native Americans came to believe the conquistadors had traveled from the sun and had great powers of healing and asked them, blessings from their bearded strangers. But like when you think about it, it's it was just not what they all expected, basically, on this. This was a disastrous expedition for Cabeza de Vaca and
Yeah,
his people.
yeah. It was nothing good came of it.
God. And how does the leader of it all still survive, right? Is he got extra privileges? How did that work? But he and document. That is
You know,
the thing, you know.
there's a painting that DeGrazia did. Um, Cabeza de Vaca was responsible for the first recorded surgery in the New World, and
What?
the group, the four men were being held captive by a tribe, and an Indian showed up that had been shot in the chest with an arrow, and he was going to die, and he was laid out, and Cabeza de Vaca said to the chief or somebody, I think I can save this man. And they gave him a knife, and he cut the arrow out of the guy's chest, and the guy lived.
Wow.
And so this was the first recorded surgery in the New World. The guy lived, and all of a sudden, everything got better for these guys. The tribe that they were being held captive. Now they're really good. We love you
They
guys.
got powers. Yeah, they got powers.
Got power.
Wow.
So, excuse me. Excuse me. Things got better, and it wasn't long after that they got rescued.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, it was Cabeza de Vaca's quick thinking about trying to save this guy that actually saved them, saved them all.
Wow. I'm so glad I asked that question. I had no idea about that. That's incredible. And so that's I know what you're talking about now on that painting. I need to come back to the gallery. Oh my gosh.
There you
So,
go.
I mean, DeGrazia getting in, so he had to look at this like this guy's a pioneer, man. and he's excuse my language, but badass. Cabeza de Vaca. He is.
I guess he just he documented what Cabeza de Vaca did, and
Yeah.
it's pretty amazing. The surgery and all of that, how it all played into helping them kind of get free and escape from this problem they had.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I'm amazed. It's such a good story, but at the same time, someone has to make a movie of it. Maybe there has been one. Hmm. Please, anyone in the episode notes, if in the comments, if there's a documentary or movie, please put it in there so we know and we can go watch it, all of us, because it's such a good. I'm sure Ken Burns has done something, maybe, maybe not, who knows, but it's such a good story. But go to the gallery and go look at the paintings about the story, and like you were saying, there's a book about him too, right? That you can get at the gallery as well. And also learn more about Padre Kino and Father Fonsa in part of those books. I'm just saying because I've read them. He does mention them. He does. I know he does in there. He's in there somewhere. Everyone, if you go to DeGrazia Gallery in the Sun, it is open. You're almost daily, right? Like pretty much.
Every day, 7 days a week.
Wow. So go
10 to 4 every day.
Yep, and if it's hot, it's a good place to go midday for a nice break in the Arizona summer. And then in the fall, we're going to be talking next month about all the new exhibits coming to the gallery, the new rotating exhibits, and we're going to be talking copper, I believe. Did I hear right about that? The little birdie in the sky said maybe something about copper, or is it just I don't know. We better not tell people.
I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Oh, all right. You never know. So everyone stay tuned for that. And of course, like I was saying, the other exhibits on display until September 4th. So you do want to get out there is the master thesis paintings and also Nogales, the DeGrazia's Nogales bus. So check that out. You can go to DeGrazia.org. Thank you so much, Lance. Always fun. And there's always new stories. It blows my mind. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to Big Blend Radio's Tales of Ted DeGrazia show. This show airs every fourth Sunday. Learn more about DeGrazia Gallery in the Sun at DeGrazia.org. Follow the show at BigBlendRadio.com.